Sun, moon, stars,
It's a dark night, 2-0. So, you see the beacon of light through that black hole? Greetings, suns and moons, and of course, I have to welcome back all my stars. We're going to go ahead and get into channeling this energy. Now, first off, I was guided to speak about the Barasi, which some know as Badan Samdi. I'm being guided to talk about this because of the false belief that Badan Samdi is an entity. Now, for those that are not aware, Baras is not a being. Baras is a Daman. And what that means is when you call upon a Damana energy, they become chaos beings. Now, if you are indeed an initiate of the Baras, what this is talking about is someone calling upon your family member and then asking you for guidance. Now, this guidance comes in the form of a question via online. Now, if you are someone that knows that you are Anisha of a Baras, and what that means for me is this energy is for you. Now, you may also know of Yamana, which you all call Yimiya. And because the cut showed that there was no abundance with this particular individual that feels like they are Yamana, what this is saying is do not call yourself Pantans that you believe are Orishas, because in the book of Keepers, it shows that they are not. Now, for those that believe they have the accurate information, I challenge you to do it short and explain to me how you know this information and why you believe it to be true. Because the doctrine that I researched from says that they are indeed Orishas. However, not many are aware of what Orisha means. Now, for some, being an Orisha means you are a god. However, for actual Orishas like Ogun Nasifio, he's going to say that we are not Orisha, we are Osifio. Now, some of you are aware that Jesus Bazel is also Osifio. And what that is talking about is an energy being placed on someone being relieved. Now, because I'm gathering 2 cards from each stack in my hand, what this is talking about is someone's guidance being from a fallen angel. However, currently, you may feel like it's Archangel Michael, which you know as Archangel Michael. However, Archangel Michael is not the energy that you're pulling on. The energy that you're pulling on is the Osifio. And these are the type of games that HELL raisers play when you call upon Baras. So my advice is to not do so. Now, in regards to this 3 of air and the guardian angel, what this is giving me is someone being relieved from an entity, but not just that. What this is talking about is a clear channel. Now, if you are an individual that recently decided to become vegan, what I'm gathering from this is your energy is not suitable for this type of initiation. And because it's not suitable for this initiation, what this is giving me is either you or a third party felt like your energy could be used in an ASIO, which you know as an incantation. However, that is indeed wrong. For us, an ASIO is talking about you being placed in a mara. And what you know as a consofo, we know as a mara. And that talks about someone using your energy for a wish, which you know as a hex. Now, because there's so much cross-communication taking place while doing this reading, this is telling me that this is indeed doubling as a spiritual awakening and an uprising. Now, for those that are not aware that Pan is not the DEVIL, what this is talking about is someone's false belief being realized. And what that entails is Pan is not the DEVIL. Now, for those that are also aware that Pan is the energy that has one side female and the other male, what this is getting to is androgyny. Now, you may feel like you are androgynous. However, the original term for androgyny is someone being balanced. Now, the depiction that shows up in many art forms is talking about one side being female and the other side being male. However, the yin-yang is the best suitable for androgyny. Now, for those that are not familiar regarding the yin-yang symbol, what this is talking about is a balance between the dark and the light. However, the middle dot is an indication that the life that you lead will be the next that you receive. And this is because karma turns into asifio. And what that is a contract. Now, for those that are new to the channel, the language that I'm speaking in is monarch. Now, for those that aren't aware what monarch is, if you do the research, you'll see that monarch is a person. However, For the original chaos beings, monarch is a language. Now what this is getting to is distortion that stems from a false belief and a different place. Now for those that are interested in lessons pertaining to tarot or tarot, has something to do with who you are and your purpose. What I'm getting to is the surface of something is not being seen correctly. And what that entails is the difference between tarot and tarot. Case being, the first pull that I did is a deck that belongs to an alternative belief system. However, this current deck is not. And because this deck is universal, what this is getting to is someone's false belief that tarot is tarot. However, it is not. Now, the best way I can explain this is the difference between me and a regular tarot reader would be the use of these particular cards. Now, for those that have been paying attention, I have a plethora of alignment cards and oracle cards. However, when it comes down to Rider-Waite or Thoth, I only have 2 to 3. And that is the difference between me, a tarot reader, that is an oracle, and someone else that is a tarot reader. They follow a strict guideline. However, because I'm intuitive, I do not. Now, in regards to this Queen of Pentacles that has been showing up lately a lot, what this is talking about is someone's options. Now, if you feel like this is you and you are a male, what this is getting to is you being intertwined with someone that is a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. However, you're not aware that you are. And this is because this Queen of Pentacles energy takes on a masculine persona. Now, this could have something to do with content creating or the mere fact that they have to protect themselves from energies and entities that they most surely called upon at one point in their life. Now, if you are someone that feels like you have connections to the South, what this is getting to is your lineage. Now, you may have not called on them per se. However, an elder may have. And because you are new to Ascension, what this is talking about is you researching before you leap. Now, if you've seen my last reading or one of the last readings, I talked about travel a lot. However, currently, someone involved in this is not going to travel anywhere. And this is because they don't have the means to. So what I'm getting to currently is the use of misinformation that stemmed from you taking on a false belief and a false belief system is the reason why a decision was made on your behalf. Now, in regards to this High Priestess energy that is surely on the fence, what this is talking about is a wish coming true. However, this individual feels like they need a do-over. And what this talks about is a Urzuli Dantor energy attempting to ask for something on their behalf. And when they did so, the energy that asked Urzuli Dantor for something was blocked. And this is because Urzuli Dantor is not a gatekeeper. Urzuli Dantor is a sorceress. So that information that someone gifted to you is indeed wrong. Now, in regards to Dantor, what this is speaking of is a belief, not a system. Now, if you consider yourself a Dantor, what this is talking about is you being partnered with a Samdi. And because you were partnered with a Samdi, they believe that you are a High Priestess. However, you may beg to differ. Now, the difference between a High Priestess and a sorceress speaks volumes, because a sorceress is indeed a woman that knows what she's doing, and a High Priestess is someone that depends upon a belief system. Now, that's not a dig on anyone that calls themselves a High Priestess. What this information is coming out for is for the purpose of you being educated on what you call yourself and the reason why you call yourself that. Now, what I'm picking up from these 4 cards in the middle is a competition. But not only that, a competitor feels like since they got your person, that they could now send distorted energy in your direction. However, what I'm getting from this 8 of Wands going back is that nothing ever touched you. And indeed, a reversal happened. And I know this because the direction of the Wands. Now, somebody may feel like this direction means they touched down. However, I beg to differ. For me, this direction means something went back. And this is because the leaves are at the end and not at the front. Now, in the recent past, you went on a getaway. However, some may have felt that you skipped town. And because of this, there's some misinformation going around the World Wide Web in regards to what took place in your environment and with whom it happened to. Now, because the DEVIL is partnered with the outcast, what this is giving me is someone was not initiated. However, they may be going around saying that they are. And this is because someone wants you to believe that they are a Baran, and they are not. Now, this belief comes from an Asifio saying that they are not. However, what they heard was something that they wanted to hear. And this is because this particular person went through several forms of ascension. However, they can never figure out who their universe parents were. And because of this, they decided that they would assign some. Now I'm going to end this here, so be on the lookout for part 2. Deuces. What is your name? What is your name? Sergisias Ietha.